So welcome to an episode of Skatography, and the season has begun, the skating season, the marathon season. That means that during the whole winter season we're going to do some races.
It's simple. If you don't skate, you're not Dutch. And if you're Dutch and you don't skate, then you need to see a psychologist. Now, how does it work in the Netherlands? Every track has a competition. And if like me you're above 40, then you participate to the masterclass. Lowest and slowest is M5. Then you go up M4, M3, M2, M1. M5 you do about 20, sometimes 25 laps. M1 you do about 50 laps, sometimes more. You as a rider are free to choose whatever category you want to participate in. But of course you always try to aim for the highest, that's M1, M2. If you stand out in the M1 or M2 category, then you can participate to a regional competition, like for example the Zesbanen, a competition held on 6 different tracks all over the Netherlands. However, this is my first competition year ever, so I want to start at the bottom and try to make my way up and drag you along in this adventure. First off, we have the M1, M2 class riding together. You have to do something like 50 laps, and I have my buddy Mick participating, but also Marcel, both of them being inline skate buddies. I could have joined them, but the last thing I wanted was to end last or not finish at all. Now the funny thing about Mick is that we like to challenge each other on Strava, and he has the advantage on the long distances where he has much more capacity than me. However, on the sprint I am stronger than him. I have a little bit more power and acceleration, so that is definitely something I will have to use in my advantage.
Lekker bezig, Mick!
But in this race I am definitely the biggest fan of Mick.
Mooi spot finish.
So I really like watching him cross the finish line and ending second on the podium.
Lekker, Mick! Lekker!
Net niet, hè?
Net niet!
Net niet, shit.
Hey, mooi man.
Dankjewel.
Echt top.
Ik ben net te vroeg begonnen.
Iets te, ja.
Als ik 1 bochtje later was geweest, of als ik gewoon achter iemand had blijven hangen,
Ja.
dan had ik er gewoon op het einde had ik er langs kunnen gaan.
So after a small briefing, we begin with the warming up lap. And that is actually where I make my very first mistake. I'm a little bit in the middle of the pack where I should be in the front. But since this is my first race, I try to conserve my energy, so I stay in the draft behind the skater just in front of me and just watching how the game unfolds. Now for everybody it's the first time, so I know not a lot of people will try to take risk. However, now I'm realizing that 2 are creating a gap. A small gap, 10 meters, 20 meters. So right from the start we have a small breakaway. Now I'm not too concerned because there are only 2, so they would really have to work together in order to create a big gap. So I'm not doing much right now. But now look at this, the gap is 30 meters and one tries to close the gap. So this is getting a little bit concerning. And the lead of this peloton should really pay close attention. Now here you have a second rider trying to close the gap. And that's a little bit concerning because it is followed by a peloton of 4, and that is a big danger. Because 4 riders working together are more dangerous than 1 solo or 2 riders. So action will have to follow soon. But nothing is happening. That's so frustrating. Worse, everybody's standing up. I'm like, why? The gap is only getting bigger. And now I see that there is even a pursuing peloton of 5 skaters. This is getting out of hand. Me too far behind, I have to do something. But that's a dilemma. I'm a sprinter, so I need to conserve my energy for the last 2 laps. But I can't let this happen. I can't let them get away and lap me. So here I am burning my first mag just to get in front of the pack. And if there is one thing you need to know about skating, that is that 80% is air resistance and 20% is from your skate. So if you can do one thing wrong, that's go full up in the wind. So taking the outside lane is draining a lot of energy, so whenever I can and wherever I can, I try to take somebody's draft. Now I was hoping for someone to take the lead, trying to close the gap, but nobody is taking action. So I'm going out solo for a full sprint, trying to close the gap and burning my second match. And also making my second mistake, and that is not really committing to the sprint. Believe me, if you're solo and you want to catch up with 200 meters on the track, you really gotta go all out. And that is something I'm not doing right now. I am going faster, but I'm not going for a full sprint, just because I'm afraid that once I'm up with the pack, I'm out of breath and I might have to withdraw. So instead of going full out in a small amount of time, I'm actually extending that time, going a little slower, and prolonging the pain. And here I realized that I'm not going to make it. Even worse, there is a peloton that has been following me all the time. So I've been doing all the work for nothing. I was just pulling them. So I had only one option, that was to join the pack and try to take a rest. But it will never come to that. Simply because they are now in an attack mode. They want to catch up with the peloton in front. And even worse for me, there are like 6 solo riders that happen to be together. They're not tightly following each other, they're broken up, and it's almost survival of the fittest. So I'm burning my third match just to try to stay in the draft of the person in front of me. Unfortunately, they are putting on some watts and I fall back. And now look, this is the thing about skating. As soon as you start to have a small gap with the rider in front of you, you have to work harder and harder and harder, and the bigger the gap gets, the harder you have to work for it. And I am already exhausted, so this is almost mission impossible. But still, I try to keep up with the guys, so I'm pushing and I'm pushing and I'm pushing. And the thing about ice skating is that as soon as you start pushing and forcing yourself, you're losing your technique. And I can hear it on the squeaking of my skates, and that's what you hear right now. So I have to take a decision. Either I stay with the pack just in front of me, trying to keep up with them and just hoping that they will lose pace. And if they don't, then, well, I will drop out of the race. Either I slow down and go back with the big pack, try to rest, try to gain some energy back, and save some energy for the sprint in the end. So I let them go. I just let them go, knowing that I might be lapped and I would have to end 5 laps before the end. I see it a little as a lesson learned, knowing that in the future I will have to stay a little bit more in front of the pack right at the start, just to try to keep up with the guys. And hey, you know, I'm not really complaining. It's my first skating marathon season, so I know I had to learn a lot. And I know that marathon skating is really a game. It's not who's the strongest, but who's the smartest. So I will be making some big mistakes, and I see it as a lesson learned. And one of the things I'm learning right now is that I have to focus on the points. So it doesn't matter if I finish up first or second or whatever, I need to grab the points. So I'm going back in the pack, staying in the pack, take some draft, and just rest for the end. Now the nice thing about this track, it's the Jaap Eden, and the Jaap Eden is the track in Amsterdam. That's also where I'm a skate instructor. And the nice thing about it is that you have to take account of the weather. The weather forecast, sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's sunny, and on a day like this, well, the air is kind of humid and it's warm. So what happens, the ice on the track is crystallizing, and that's making it much harder to go forward. But that's the beautiful thing about this track, you always have to take the weather into account. And now it's the humidity, so the ice is getting less smooth to ride on, much more harder to get forward. So conserving energy is priority number 1 right now. Now we are nearing the end, and what I'm doing right now is staying a little bit on the outside. First of all, I want to take the pressure off my leg, because you can imagine that if you have to do 20 laps, that means 40 times you have to take the corner, so that's putting a lot of pressure on the left leg. And second of all, if it comes down to a sprint, then I would like to have a path that's free and not being stuck between other riders. Now we have been joined by the pack that has taken off from right from the start. So the bell that you hear right now is actually for those who have been lapped and who can go for the last sprint, because the last 5 laps you want to keep the track totally clear for the one fighting for position number 1, 2, and 3. I don't really have much gas in the tank, so I'm actually glad I made it to the end. And I am licking my wounds right now, knowing the mistake I've made. And I end up in position number 25, and that's still good for 9 points. 9 points.
Drop in!
Zo, ging die?
Ik wilde je nog meenemen.
Ja,
Ik hoor je niet. Ik zeg, kom op. Nee.
Ja.
Ja, nou. Ik kon niet meer.
ja dat tweede peloton,
Ja.
ik zag het gat met de eerste peloton groot te
Maar
worden.
even kort maken. Gewoon aansluiten. Bij mij
Ja.
als ik roep.
Ja.
Proberen.
Dat had ik inderdaad moeten doen.
Ja. Ja.
Maar ja,
Je
Volgende
rijdt,
keer,
Je rijdt vaker hier wel of niet?
wat
Dit
zei
is
je?
mij de eerste keer. Ik kom bij M1, M2, M3.
Ja.
Ik ben nu 73. Dan denk ik, nou, ik ga nu even 4.
Ja. Maar het is leuk. Het is mijn eerste seizoen dat ik meedoe, dus
Ja.
ja.
Dat voor je ook meegenomen? Vorig jaar of niet? Dit jaar voor het
Dit is mijn eerste seizoen.
Dat is ook tactiek, hè?
Ik heb
Je ging zo
je...
vroeg, jongen. En
Wat zei je?
je hebt 400 in je eentje gereden, dat nek je.
Nee, omdat ik zag het eerste peloton weggaan. Ik dacht van dat gat wordt steeds groter en groter.
Ja,
Toen ging dat tweede peloton waar jij in zat, dat ging erachteraan. En ik dacht van ja, ik haal jullie in, maar op een gegeven moment bleef ik in een beetje no man's land weer. En,
Ja, zak patat.
ja,
Mijn tip, je ging te
Ik
vroeg.
zeg, kom op, nee, kom.
Ja.
Je ging te vroeg.
ik ging inderdaad te vroeg.
Nee, dat is de daarom toen ik te vroeg ging.
Ja.
Maar dan moet je later wel even aanpikken, want
Ja.
dan kun je uitrusten.
Ja, precies. En dat rustmoment heb ik niet gevonden.
Nou, leuk.
Maar ja, dan weet ik het voor de volgende keer.
Elk jaar krijg je weer die nummers van de KNSB. En dan begin je weer met...
So that was it for this episode of Skatography. I hope you liked the video. I hope you liked the analysis. If you have some tips, some tricks, some tactics, please put it down in the comment below. Like I said, it's a journey we're going to make together. So I'm going to learn from it, you're going to learn from it. And every trick in the book that I can apply is welcome. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and please share with your friends. And hopefully one day I'll see you on the ice. See ya.
Lekker gereden? Ja, weer een lesje geleerd. Dus